Hello beautiful people, I hope this video finds you well. Today's video is about becoming a police dispatcher or 911 complaint taker. So I just recently had a Zoom video with my class students, and one of the students was asking me about how to become a police dispatcher. And I'm the perfect person to ask because I became a police dispatcher. And so when I was younger, as a police explorer, I started sitting in dispatch and watching what goes on in there with the whole dispatching experience. And I learned a lot. I learned how to dispatch fire and ambulance and how to handle answering 911 calls, calm people down, etc. And so I want to spend a few minutes talking to you. If this is something you want to do, that you should check into it. First of all, let me just say that police dispatchers are the lifeline of law enforcement. They're the ones that maintain cool under pressure. They're the ones that are there when the officers need them to provide services. And without them, the whole system would collapse, I think. So anyway, if you're a dispatcher and you're listening to this, kudos to everything you do. And I can't thank you enough for the times that when I was a police officer, you guys sent the right resources in the right time so that I was able to go home safely to my family at the end of the shift. So anyway, let's get started. Today's law enforcement uses something called CAD, Computer Aided Dispatch, CAD. And CAD is linked to everything. And basically, now we're interlinked with GPS services and all kinds of stuff. When I first started working, to give you an idea how that long ago that was, we used a card system. We stamped cards, and now that's all gone. Everything's digital. 911 lines are fully recorded as they were when I was a dispatcher. But anyway, so let's talk about this. How much training do you need to become a full dispatcher, full time? And the answer to that is 2 weeks of training, 80 hours. And it's a dispatch course offered, to my knowledge, by local community colleges and certified by Post. It's basically 2 weeks of just going over everything. Now, that's just a certificate. You're going to go, the one that I would recommend is San Jose Evergreen Community College. It's a great college that offers that program. And you're going to go there and take that course that's certified through Post. Post stands for Peace Officer Standards and Training. And then you will apply to agencies, or if you get hired, some agency will put you through. But before you enroll, before you decide to do this, my personal advice is that you go and sit in with a dispatcher 3, 4, 5 hours on a shift and get to see what the dispatcher does. There's fire dispatchers, there's police dispatchers, and there's complaint takers. And in a 911 center that I'm used to, because I work for a large police department, we have complaint takers that answer all the 911 lines. And so when the person dials 911, the call comes to the complaint taker. And the complaint taker has a little headset, and he or she starts typing information right away. And if it's a very urgent call, if it's like something that somebody's drowning and that somebody needs to take over, they pull out this Rolodex of cards and they start pretty much going down the Rolodex, and the dispatcher may assist them in asking the right questions. So I don't want you, as you're watching this video, to think you have to memorize all kinds of medical stuff. That's not true. You just have to have a lot of common sense, and you have to be willing to multitask. Like I'm doing this video with you right now. Okay, what I just did is what dispatchers do. They can be having a conversation. We can have a conversation, all of a sudden a call comes in, you got to pause your speech and you got to listen. And so multitasking, being able to pause your speech to listen, being able to remain calm and in light of a lot of stress. We get a lot of calls on a daily basis. Majority of them are not urgent calls. Majority of them are, your lost dog, your, stolen bike, your traffic accident, collision, that kind of stuff. Some of them will test your ability to maintain your cool under a lot of stress. I was a dispatcher. My younger sister was a dispatcher. Dispatchers at the comm center that I was used to working with work 12-hour shifts. They get rotated between channel 1 and channel 2. You have the fire dispatchers, there's 2 of them. Then you have the police dispatchers, there's 2 of them. Then you have the sheriff's office dispatchers, and there's 2 people in that position as well. And then you have a whole array of call takers. And going back to what I started saying, the call takers answer the call and start entering the information. So you have to have good typing skills. So there's something else that you need to consider. Not just the 2-week course. And you're like, what? Are you saying in 2 weeks, 80 hours? Well, okay, but there's more. You have to know how to type. And you have to know how to type pretty efficiently, because as a complaint taker, and they may start you out as a complaint taker in large departments, you're going to be entering the call into the computer. And you need to be typing the call into the computer. There's no more handwriting. We don't do that anymore. Everything is typed into the computer. You have to also start thinking what officers think when you're a dispatcher. You're in there, and for example, with us, once a police officer called in and they did a traffic stop, and we knew that officer, and usually within a minute or 2, he or she was calling in a license plate check. And so, an officer, that same officer makes a traffic stop, and it's been 5 minutes and you haven't heard from them. It's incumbent upon you to get on the radio and say, call his number, hello officer, checking in on your status, are you code 4, are you okay? And the officer says, yeah, 10-6, I'm busy with the person talking or whatever. And that's another thing that I want to teach you. You have to learn the radio codes. So not just going through the Dispatch Academy, not just learning how to type, but you have to memorize radio codes. And you repeat these over and over, eventually you'll know. But again, I can't stress enough that it has to start with sitting in the communication center. Now, a lot of small police departments have their dispatch center, right? And the dispatcher is a jack of all trades. There are no complaint takers. The dispatcher is the one that handles the lobby. The dispatcher is the one that answers the calls on the radio. The dispatcher is the one that the dispatchers fire an ambulance and alerts the volunteers. And that's what I did. And there's a lot of small departments out there that are still doing that. So if you go to a large communication center and you get a bit overwhelmed and say, this is not for me, keep in mind that you can start at a small department. And so one more thing before I finish, the professor in me wants to tell you, money, they get paid very, very well. I think they should be paid more, but most dispatchers in communication centers start at $4,000 a month, plus overtime, including full-time benefits. So research this on your own, but if this is something that you've thought about doing for a long time, I urge you to do it. Again, I can't emphasize enough that the dispatchers are the heartbeat of any law enforcement agency, and without them, the system would not work at all. So if this is something you're thinking about doing, I strongly urge you to do it. So I'm going to end the video. I hope you found this information interesting and something that maybe you want to apply to your life in the future. Reach out to me with any future questions, any ideas for videos. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and share this video with others who may be interested in doing this very career. Thank you for listening. Take good care of yourself. Stay healthy, stay positive, and remember, work on your dreams. Life passes you by, and if you're not working on your dreams, you're gonna regret it in the future. So sacrifice now to play later, or play now and then suffer later. Okay, take good care. Love you guys.